being read to a lot, and so I thought maybe we could just have a little bit of good words read. So this is a book by a guy named Italo Calvino. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of him, but this is a book called Invisible Cities, and it is all about different cities as described by Marco Polo. This is fiction. Marco Polo is describing cities that he's seen on his travels to Kublai Khan, who was one of the great kings of the Mongolian Empire, which was like 1/5 of the inhabited land of the world at that time, so big king. And this is Marco Polo describing things to Kublai Khan. This is very imaginative, very creative. Some descriptions will make you just giggle, others will make you be like, ooh. So I hope you enjoy part of this. I will read for about, I'm going to read the whole book to you, so don't worry. All right. Kublai Khan does not necessarily believe everything Marco Polo says when he describes the cities visited on his expeditions. But the Emperor of the Tartars does continue listening to the young Venetian with greater attention and curiosity than he shows any other messenger or explorer of his. In the lives of emperors, there is a moment which follows pride in the boundless extension of the territories we have conquered, and the melancholy and relief of knowing we shall soon give up any thought of knowing and understanding them. There is a sense of emptiness that comes over us at evening with the odor of the elephants after the rain, and the sandalwood ashes growing cold in the braziers, a dizziness that makes rivers and mountains tremble on the fallow curves and planispheres where they were portrayed, and rolls up one after the other the dispatches announcing to us the collapse of the last enemy troops from defeat to defeat, and flakes the wax of the seals of obscure kings who beseech our army's protection, offering in exchange annual tributes of precious metals, tanned hides, and tortoise shell. It is the desperate moment when we discover that this empire, which had seemed to us as the sum of all wonders, is an endless, formless ruin, that corruption's gangrene has spread too far to be healed by our scepter, that the triumph over enemy sovereigns have made us the heirs of their long undoing. Only in Marco Polo's accounts was Kublai Khan able to discern, through the walls and towers destined to crumble, the tracery of a pattern so subtle it could escape the termites' gnawing. Chapter 1, Cities and Memory. Leaving there and proceeding for 3 days toward the east, you reached Diomira, a city with 60 silver domes, bronze statues of all the gods, streets paved with lead, a crystal theater, a golden cock that crows each morning on a tower. All these beauties will already be familiar to the visitor who has seen them also in other cities. But the special quality of this city, for the person who arrives there on a September evening, when the days are growing shorter and the multicolored lamps are all lighted at once at the doors and the food stalls, and from a terrace a woman whose voice cries out, is that he feels envy towards those who now believe they have once before lived an evening identical to this, and who think they were happy that time. When one rides a long time through wild regions, he feels the desire for a city. Finally, he comes to Isidora, a city where the buildings have spiral staircases encrusted with spiral seashells, where perfect telescopes and violins are made, where the foreigner, hesitating between two women, always encounters a third, where fights degenerate into bloody brawls among the betters. He was thinking of all these things when he desired a city. Isidora, therefore, is the city of his dreams, with one difference. The dreamed-of city contained him as a young man. He arrives at Isidora in his old age. In the square, there is the wall where the old men sit and watch the young go by. He is seated in a row with them. Desires are already memories. There are 2 ways of describing the city of Dorothea. You can say that 4 aluminum towers rise from its walls, flanking 7 gates with spring-operated drawbridges that span the moat whose water feeds 4 green canals which cross the city, dividing it into 9 quarters, each with 300 houses and 700 chimneys, and bearing in mind that the girls of each quarter married youths of other quarters, and their parents exchange the goods that each family holds in monopoly: bergamot, sturgeon roe, astrolabes, amethysts. You can then work from these facts until you learn everything you wished to learn about the city in the past, present, and future. Or else you could say, like the camel driver who took me there, I arrived here first in my youth one morning. Many people were hurrying along the streets toward the market, and women had fine teeth and looked you straight in the eye. 3 soldiers on a platform played the trumpet, and all around wheels turned and colored banners fluttered in the wind. Before then, I had known only the desert and the caravan routes. In the years that followed, my eyes returned to contemplate the desert expanses and the caravan routes. But now I know this path is only one of many that opened before me that morning in Dorothea. In vain, great-hearted Kubla Khan, shall I attempt to describe Zaira, city of high bastions. I could tell you how many steps make up the streets rising like stairways, and the degree of arcade curves, and what kind of zinc scales cover the roofs, but I already know this would be the same as telling you nothing. The city does not consist of this, but of relationships between the measurements of its space and the events of its past. The height of a lamppost and the distance from the ground of a hanged usurper's swaying feet, and the line that strung the lamppost to the railing opposite, and the festoons that decorate the course of the Queen's nuptial procession. The height of that railing and the leap of the adulterer who climbed over it at dawn, the tilt of a guttering and a cat's progress along it as he slips into the same window, the firing range of a gunboat which has suddenly appeared beyond the cape, and the bomb that destroys the guttering, the rips in the fishnet, and the 3 old men seated on the dock mending nets and telling each other for the 100th time the story of the gunboat of the usurper, who some say was the Queen's illegitimate son, abandoned in his swaddling clothes there on the dock. As this wave from memories flows in, the city soaks it up like a sponge and expands. A description of Zaira as it is today should contain all Zaira's past. The city, however, does not tell its past, but contains it like the lines of a hand, written in the corners of the streets, the gratings of the windows, the banisters of the steps, the antenna of the lightning rods, the poles of the flags, every segment marked in turn with scratches, indentations, and scrolls. At the end of 3 days moving southward, you come upon Anastasia, a city with concentric canals watering it and kites flying over it. I should now list the wares that can be profitably bought here: agate, onyx, chrysoprase, and other varieties of chalcedony. I should praise the flesh of the golden pheasant cooked here over fires of seasoned cherry wood and sprinkled with much sweet marjoram, and tell of the women I have seen bathing in the pool of a garden, and who sometimes, it is said, invite the stranger in with them to chase them in the water. But with all this, I would not be telling you the city's true essence, for while the description of Anastasia awakens desires one at a time, only to force you to stifle them when you are in the heart of Anastasia one morning, your desires awaken all at once and surround you. The city appears to you as a whole, where no desire is lost, and of which you are a part. And since it enjoys everything you do not enjoy, you can do nothing but inhabit this desire and be content. Such is the power, sometimes called malignant, sometimes benign, that Anastasia, the treacherous city, possesses. If for 8 hours a day you work as a cutter of agate, onyx, chrysoprase, your labor which gives form to desire, takes from desire its form, and you believe you are enjoying Anastasia wholly when you are only its slave. Now read one more city. You walk for days among trees and among stones. Rarely does the eye light on a thing, and then only when it has recognized that thing as the sign of another thing. A print in the sand indicates the tiger's passage. A marsh announces a vein of water, the hibiscus flower, the end of winter. All the rest is silent and interchangeable. Trees and stones are only what they are. Finally, the journey leads to the city of Tamara. You penetrate it along streets thick with signboards jutting from the walls. The eye does not see things, but images of things that mean other things. Pincers point out the tooth drawer's house, a tankard the tavern, halberds the barracks, scales the grocer's. Statues and shields depict lions, dolphins, towers, stars, a sign that something, who knows what, has as its sign a lion or a dolphin or a tower or a star. Other signals warn of what is forbidden in a given place: to enter an alley with wagons, to urinate behind the kiosk, to fish with your pole from the bridge, and what is allowed: watering zebras, playing bowls, burning relatives' corpses. From the doors of the temples, the gods' statues are seen, each portrayed with his attributes: the cornucopia, the hourglass, the Medusa. so that the worshiper can recognize and address his prayers correctly. If a building has no signboard or figure, its very form and the position of it, and the position it occupies in the city's order, suffice to indicate its function. The palace, the prison, the mint, the Pythagorean school. The wares, too, which the vendors display in their stalls are valuable not in themselves, but as signs of other things. The embroidered headband stands for elegance, the gilded palanquin, power, the volumes of Averroes, learning, the ankle bracelet, voluptuousness. Your gaze scans the streets as if they were written pages. The city says everything you must think, makes you repeat her discourse, and while you believe you are visiting Tamara, you are only recording the names with which she defines herself and all of the parts. However, the city may really be beneath this thick coating of signs, whatever it may contain or conceal. You leave Tamara without having discovered it. Outside, the land stretches empty to the horizon. The sky opens with speeding clouds. In the shape that chance and wind give the clouds, you are already intent on recognizing figures: a sailing ship, a hand, an elephant. If you want to read more